Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. It is Monday, January 27th, and the Vancouver Canucks have won back-to-back games, I think for the first time this month, which is not great. But this means that they're unstoppable and they're never going to lose again, hopefully. As always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are we feeling after a pretty convincing Canucks win tonight?
I am lobbying, Parker, that the parade route goes through Steveston in Richmond. It starts near my house. Yeah, if that's okay. It can get your way to Surrey or Langley, wherever you live, by the end. But we'll start in Steveston. Awesome. Yes, it is their first back-to-back win in almost 2 months. December 1st was the time that they won that second game. Isn't that crazy?
When's the last time they lost back-to-backs? Oh, yeah, like a week ago.
They're good on Saturday night and they're good on prime night on Monday night. So as long as our games are Saturday and Monday, we're fine.
Yeah, we need to do a little bit of lobbying on the schedule front. Make it, every game has to be on Hockey Night in Canada or on Amazon Prime. No Sportsnet games ever again. Sorry, Shorty. It's a sacrifice we have to make.
Got to do it.
But no, honestly, the 3 games for us to go over because we last did a show last Tuesday after the Canucks game where they lost to was it Washington a week ago? I don't remember.
No, Buffalo.
Washington was right before.
Was it Buffalo?
Yeah. They lost 3-2 to Buffalo. Before they lost 3-2 to, we beat Edmonton the night or 2 nights before. Lost to Buffalo last Tuesday. Did our show after, it's 6-1 loss, 5-1 loss, 3-2 win, 3-2 loss. And then Thursday night, the Canucks come out and just are abysmal, right? That's 6-2 loss to the Oilers. I am going to say I turned that game off after the first period. I didn't even come back, didn't look at it again. And I know nothing else that happened in that game because, frankly, it's Thursday night and it was, I think it was a 6 o'clock start, if I remember correctly. And I was like, I got a whole night ahead of me if I turn this game off.
Good. Well, at least you watched the first period. I didn't watch it, but not by choice. I was actually at something for my daughter, Kayla, for her high school grad, an event. But I was getting the texts and people were saying, what's going on? And then I saw what was going on. And yeah, Parker, we don't have to relitigate this game too much considering it was the furthest away and it was a horrible loss and neither of us watched it, but just kind of disappointing, right? The hype from 5 days earlier, that spirited end to that game, Myers, McDavid, both suspended. You'd think there'd be some bite, some pushback, I guess there was a little bit, but not from our side.
No, it was a poor effort. They got right out of the building pretty quick. 2 goals in 20 seconds late in the first period. And I saw that happen, and I said, you know what, I got better things to do. Of course, they ended up making it 5-0 about halfway through the second. Canucks get 2 back just for fun. They don't matter. They lose that game 6-2. They get outshot 34-26. Yeah. They got beat all over the place in that game. Natural stat trick on this game is a sad scene.
Do I want to know?
So I'm only going to talk about 5-on-5.
Okay.
Shot attempts. 47-46 in favor of the Canucks. That's great.
Okay. Right? Yeah, that's awesome.
High danger chances 12-2 in favor of Edmonton. Now, if we include all situations like power plays, that goes up to 21-3.
Wow.
Expected goals in all situations 4.7 for the Oilers to 1.5 for the Canucks. So that's about 76%, and the actual goals were 75% for the Oilers. So this game, game went with the analytics, which is not a good sign when you lose 6-2.
So you actually watched the first period though before you turned off, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What were you thinking? Like, were you? I'm not going to suggest that you expected this, but were you expecting at least something better from the Canucks? Or
I hope so. I felt like Edmonton would come out pretty hot, but also no Connor McDavid. That's your best shot, right? It's your best chance to go out and do something against this team. Turns out Tyler Myers was more important than we thought. But it was just an abysmal game, right? That's 3 times, all 3 games against Edmonton complete for the year. The Canucks snuck out a 3-2 win, and the other 2 games they lost by 4, right? 6-2 and 7-3 back in November. I look at this and it's like if the Canucks make the playoffs and were to make their way into this rematch, I wouldn't like the Canucks odds, right? Last year we sort of went in, it was like, like 65-35. Edmonton
Sure.
wins this series, right? They've got the edge, but the Canucks have looked good and can grind out some wins. I'd be much closer to the 80-20 camp if you gave these two teams 7 games right now.
Did we sweep Edmonton last season in the regular season? I thought we did. Right. Oh man, crazy talk. Yep. Crazy talk. Okay, so maybe enough said for that one.
I think so. Yeah, we can move on from that one. It wasn't a good time for anybody in here.
Yeah, not at all. Okay, then we knew we were going to win because it was Saturday night, baby.
Saturday night, and unfortunately I missed most of this game. I had my own game at 7 p.m. on Saturday.
Perfect.
Which makes you feel like you're in the big leagues, right? There's like 8 people in the stands, and Saturday.
Did you win?
Going down when you get to the rink.
Did you win?
Nope, didn't win. But the Canucks did, and this is the Quinn Hughes show. It is just 2 really nice goals from Quinn Hughes set this game up. That first one where he has the wherewithal to sort of step in between the 2 forwards and find a lane and put that backhand back to the far side against the grain. Just so sweet. And then I don't know, on that second goal, did you see the one replay angle? It might have been the last one they showed, where it's clearly taken from behind the glass at the other end of the ice, where it's Quinn Hughes and you can see 9 guys seemingly cross in front of the net, and the puck somehow gets through all of them into the top corner. It's ridiculous.
Well,
it's unsavable. Like,
yes,
there's nothing the goalie can do there. He's an absolute problem right now.
Well, and Parker, I did not see that particular replay. I should look that up. I did see one because I did my goal breakdown video where it's funny. You pause it and you see Charlie Lindgren's face, like only like a 6-inch gap where he's just kind of looking as, you're right, all the 9 players kind of cross in front of him. It's just, not only is he so skilled that we always give him his flowers as we should, but he's so smart, just the way that 1 extra second, as you kind of alluded to allow so much traffic. Or the first goal where he splits the D, but he doesn't just shoot it as soon as he splits the D. He still drags it a little bit and allows Pettersson or Carlson, whoever was in front of the net, to take away. He's just so good. Like, we are witnessing a magical season by him. And I guess that's kind of the point we're making. It would be a waste, right, if the Canucks don't do anything with this season.
Yeah, he is absolutely putting this team on his back. And then, of course, Pierre-Luc Dubois scores. He's the only Washington Capital that scored on the Canucks this season, with like 7.5 minutes to go. And we get to crunch time where it's like, hey, we've blown this lead how many times now? And frankly, the Canucks did a pretty good job of keeping everything outside. And then Lindgren, with the Ryan Miller-esque save on Phil DiGiuseppe from the red line, diving back, full extension with the glove. That was pretty sweet.
I forgot about the Ryan Miller save that was very similar to that, and some people started tweeting it that night. Lindgren's was pretty impressive. I don't know, not that DiGiuseppe is trying to compute in his head when he's shooting it from the other end of the ice. Oh, is he a lefty? Is a righty? But Lindgren was saved from the fact that he was a lefty, so he was catching with his right. So that was kind of like the side. Yeah. Whereas Miller, he had to reach, which was pretty crazy. He had to reach across. It doesn't matter. He was fully elevated off the ice. It was very, very impressive. Stuff I would dream of doing if I was playing softball, but when I play softball, I rupture my Achilles. So, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it's a different level of athleticism.
just a bit. By the way, speaking of different level, Adam, thank you. Adam gives 5 memberships, which is awesome. They go to Spartan, Jeff King, Indigo, Ivan, and Luke Flyswatter. We appreciate you, Adam. You're always very supportive of us. I also saw some fellow content creators. I saw Doodle Hockey's in here. I also see Hot Take Hockey all the way from Ontario is here. So thanks to everyone who's here, content creator or not. We appreciate you guys being here.
Excellent. Thank you. Apparently my mic is quiet because it's who designed a microphone that you can move around easily but has touch controls for the volume on top? It's terrible design because every time you okay.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. Yeah, let us know if you can hear them okay.
So a big win Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, which is excellent. And then tonight's game. 4:30 start, Amazon Prime. They put on a good show again. I really enjoyed watching the game. It's always in such better quality than cable. So obviously they can juice it up to at least 1080p, which is nice in 2025. It's all like I know this is sort of out of order. Love seeing Jordan Binnington not finish a game against the Canucks.
I'm going to say two things, Parker, and I hope they don't offend you, but I think I've said this before on the chat. Number one, no, three things. Yes. I love seeing Binnington get lit up ever since the time where he thought he should win the Calder over Petey. We've talked about this many times. Number two, kind of concerns me because he is one of our 3-team Canada goalies. And number three, have I ever told you that I think you look like him a little bit? And I'm not saying he's like good looking or he's not good looking. You slightly resemble him, just ever so slightly. Have I ever said that to you?
I don't think so. I don't.
You don't see it?
Almost. I feel like if you cover certain parts of his face, maybe.
Sure. And you can compare me to any, fat Asian guy that you want. That's fine. I will not get offended. But I do think you do look a bit like him. But chat, let me know. Do you think that Parker looks a little bit like Jordan Binnington? I'm not talking about how much we like him or don't like him. Binnington, that is. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. And I just want to highlight a couple of the donations too. Doodle Hockey, $2. He says to you, Parker, at least your mic is facing the right direction. He had a big gaffe on one of my shows where he was talking to the wrong end of his microphone. It was amazing. So thank you, Doodle Hockey.
That's tough.
And thank you, Justin Credible. Back-to-back wins in this economy. JT9 for Prime Minister. So thanks to you, both of you, for your donations.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this game, you look at the score sheet and you're like, oh, Connor Garland got 2. He must have, controlled this game. And he did. Connor Garland was the best player on the ice by far. Quinn Hughes was the second best player on the ice.
Yep.
Also, and then probably Lankinen, I think, was your number 3. I don't know who the 3 stars were, but that's got to be it, right? No, they have to Suter and Myers. I think, okay, Myers played great too. But let's run through this game.
Sure.
3 minutes in, Canucks get this thing going. A nice pinch up by Hughes. DeBrusk gets the puck chipped out of the Canucks zone. Hughes is able to just jump on it, little chip around a guy. He's on a 2-on-1 with Garland. And then on a 2-on-1 like this, the defenseman's job is to play the pass, right?
Yep.
And I don't know what else you can ask for from the defenseman on this play. He lies down, blocks the entire passing lane, and basically says, Quinn, you can shoot it or you can sauce it over me. And Quinn says, no, thank you. I'll pass it under your ankles because your toes are on the ice. And because there's a bend there, there's a little gap for me to slide the puck under. It's not fair. Like, what's the guy supposed to do there?
And remember, it's not like Suter is stationary. He is sliding. So Quinn has to get it at the perfect spot and then you know what Suter should have done? He should have fishtailed his legs on the
Well, yeah, you got to get sideways. That is the answer. Yeah. You need to be on your side on that slide and not just Superman backwards. It doesn't work as well. But perfect pass. Right. Garland is so good at just finishing those. It's not like it's a hard play, but he always is every time you see him next to the net, he's as low as he could possibly be with eating his stick almost. He's not missing that one. And then he scores again 13 minutes later on the power play. And this one's tough because St. Louis gets a goal disallowed, which is a shot that one of the St. Louis players was sort of cutting through the crease area. Quinn got in his way, shoved him into the goaltender. And the initial call was immediately no goal. Jim Montgomery decides to challenge.
Yep.
Good challenge, frankly.
Great challenge.
If they called out a goal on the ice, there's no way they overturn that. It's goalie. That wasn't goalie interference, right? The thought is, well, he was taking that path already, but Quinn clearly directed him into Lankinen to the point where, I feel like the punishment's too harsh on these, and I'm glad I'm saying this on an opposing team that got screwed over by it, and not the Canucks,
right?
Because I'm not biased. If there's a play that's inconclusive, and they said it was confirmed, which to me seems like the wrong word to choose, but I feel like if there's a review and it's inconclusive, the call on the ice should stand, and there shouldn't be a penalty, because it's
right.
They might be right. We just can't tell. To me, that I don't think that was goal interference. I think that goal should have stood. or should have counted. And the Canucks go out in the power play, which looked fantastic tonight. And you get Connor Garland scoring his second of the game, which is excellent. He just sort of snuck back door. Hughes played it over to Miller, to Besser. Shot stopped by Binnington, but it falls right between his legs. Luckily, not a quick whistle from the ref. Garland's able to sort of reach in there and pull it through. That whole sequence, do you think that should have been a goal for one? And then obviously Garland, finding that goal there.
I was fully expecting that call to be overturned and that goal to count. But you're right. The penalty does seem kind of harsh. It's kind of funny because it happened, you're right, to the other team. We'd be screaming bloody murder if it happened to the Canucks. But yeah, you look at it, Quinn actually gives him 2 shots, Parker. The first one, because Quinn's not that strong and Holloway's probably didn't feel it. And then he shoves him again. But what's really funny is he shoves him and then he, right before, and then I don't see Holloway actually hit Lankinen until Quinn shoves him. So it's obviously the shove that precipitates it. Then, as a comedy errors, Hughes falls, trips on Lankinen, without anyone touching him. I thought that someone actually cross-checked him, but no, he falls on his own. I totally thought that was going to get reversed.
And everyone on the broadcast did too. Yeah,
everyone did. So what was the explanation? That Holloway made a path to the crease, basically?
Yeah, I guess so. That, he was the reason that he was there, I guess. I don't know. It seemed questionable. I haven't watched. I'm sure the NHL usually puts out a little explainer. I didn't see it today.
Right.
But I'm sure that's what they would have said. But man, I don't think that's a great call.
Yeah, and by the way, before I talk about the second goal, the Connor Garland goal, the second one, it was really funny when I made that Binnington. I'm not sure you look at the chat. When I made the Binnington comment to you, someone noted that you might have shown a bit of disdain. I think you were just being serious, but then they started saying, "Oh, we got some PD and JT level of," and then the comments is who's JT and who's PD, and they said just by virtue of age, I get to be JT and you get to be PD. Apparently,
I'll take it.
Okay. Second Canucks goal. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, you're good. Go ahead. Talk about the goal.
I love how all 5 players touched it. PD doesn't get an assist. There's no such thing as a 4th assist, and some other guy doesn't get an assist either. But I guess Miller doesn't. But yeah, I loved how it went from PD to Miller up to Hughes, back to Miller to Besser. I guess Hughes didn't get the assist in the bumper, and then Garland just fishes it out while PD is actually tying up a Blues defenseman. It was great. Their power play looks more assertive, and I think that's a really good thing.
And PD did get credited with first assist. He must have got a piece of that shot coming through.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
They put Besser in the second, so he must have got a little piece of it to disrupt it enough. Binnington's got to he's got to hang on to that puck. That's it's a nice setup by the Canucks, and the power play looked really good. But that's one that you just can't have. And it almost happened again later on, right? That other one that Binnington sort of dropped between his legs and the one defender swung around behind him and played that out back through his 5-hole the other way, which I thought was quite interesting. So 2 for Garland in the first period. And Connor Garland was unbelievable tonight. And the broadcast kept being like those goals went to his feet is what they were saying, I think, where he was just all over the ice. He was an absolute menace. He must have had a good amount of ice time tonight, I imagine. What'd they give him? They gave him 20 minutes. He was the high minute man on up front, which is not surprising. And then Suter was at 19 and a half, by far the 2 top ice time getters for the Canucks. 5 PKs helped Suter a little bit there, I'm sure. But yeah, Garland was excellent.
And by the way, are you fine? Recency bias notwithstanding, are you fine with Garland being on the first power play unit as opposed to DeBrusk? I don't know if it's righty lefty or Garland just better in front of the net. DeBrusk has more goals. What do you think? Or is it kind of interchangeable?
Garland, I think Garland brings more to the wall than DeBrusk does. If the puck's dumped in, if the zone entries aren't working well and they dump the puck in, I want Garland going in after instead of DeBrusk. Right. Other than that, I don't really care too much. they're both going to score a decent amount, and I DeBrusk hasn't been fantastic lately, but Garland clearly deserved it tonight, and there's no way that changes going into the next game.
Yeah, that's fair. No, and then I can't even remember if we even saw the second power play unit, right? Because the Canucks went 2 for 2. Yeah, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. So the second unit must be Hronik. I don't even know anymore. It must be Hronik, DeBrusque. You need a center on there. So Suter. I don't know. Who else? Hoglander, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Because, in the second period, Canucks on another power play halfway through the period or so. Struggle a little bit to get set up. Like, they had a decent setup on their first chance, and then I think they struggled to get to the zone once. And then a minute in, they played into the Canucks zone. Lankinen, plays it up to Hughes, so he doesn't have to come all the way back as St. Louis is making that long change. And like a pretty late change on the third guy. The first two guys are able to get off well, but by the time Hughes has the puck, the third guy changing is on the blue note at center ice. Yeah. Right? He's still on the logo, and that makes it a 2-on-1 effectively immediately, or even a 3-on-1 if the Canucks get it up quick. And that defenseman is playing the wall because I don't think he realized that all three of his guys were changing. So Hughes just fires it up to Miller, times it perfectly. Miller's just onside, receives that pass, has a breakaway. And you think, oh, he's going to go in and make a move because Binnington is out of his crease. Like, he is a full 1.5 feet outside of his crease. There can't be that much to shoot at. And JT says, whatever, I'm just going to rip one. He could have gone in and tried to do a little pivot and pass to Besser and probably given him a wide open net, frankly, with how far out Binnington was. But he said, I'm just going to shoot it. And he puts it right past Binnington, which, hey, he can still shoot the puck.
Yeah, no, he can. And that's a really good point in fact, I think I told you that in the playoffs, I got in this habit of listening to the opposing coaches' post-game remarks, but only when the Canucks won. Okay, because I don't want because I like hearing them give the Canucks their flowers. So today I did listen to Jim Montgomery's thing on my way home from dinner, and he said that exact same thing. Parker, you should be a coach. He said that he doesn't think he needs the defenseman to cover the middle ice, but he's almost certain that the defenseman didn't know that his partner was changing. Obviously, right? That's why he was so far out there. But perfect pass to Miller, and yeah, Miller. That's kind of like the shot we used to see on the power play last year. When he would snipe from that left side. So I loved it. And it basically chased Binnington from the game as well.
Yeah, it was excellent. Just downhill shot. A great goal. St. Louis gets a power play. They get one back. It's Dylan Holloway, one-timer on the power play. Nice goal. Not much for Lankin to do there. It's just a good shot.
Yep. Good one time. And Lankinen had no eyes on that one too. I think one of the Blues players did a really good job of skating right in front of him. So what can you do? Lankinen was great up until that point.
And then while Hoaglander's in the box for a high stick that wasn't called, but then called that was after a ways after the play. I think the linesman called it, which they're allowed to do for high sticks. So St. Louis sort of comes into the zone. Tyler Myers, perfect breakup. Just perfect breakup. I think it's Holloway tries to go a little outside in on him, gets past him for a second. Myers just turns around, smacks the puck to center calmly on the backhand. And, Pius Suter's just there, turns on the Jets, burns through, and Hofer should have this one. It's a shot that's 5-hole off, I think, the blade of the stick. I think Suter's had a little bit on it I'm just going to look at the replay here. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It was 3 inches off the ice, 5-hole, hits the, blade / handle of the stick, and ends up looking like he shot at top shelf, which is cool. Suter hasn't scored in a while. I remember when he led the team in goals with 10 or 11 a long time ago. Well, now he has 12 because he finally got another one. That shorty's big. That took the life out of St. Louis, I think.
Okay, honestly, do you think that Myers did he know exactly where Suter was and he did that perfect backhand pass, or do you think he was just trying to get it out of the zone? What do you think?
I think it's a bit of both. I think when that guy makes a move on you, right? I mean, he clearly didn't panic and spin around and try to smack it. He turned around and he basically played the puck. And he could have, you're short, right? He could have shot it off the backhand, just swung hard, played it down the ice. But I think he thought hey, they're on a rush in. If I could just play it to center, who knows what happens, right? So I think it's a bit of column A, column B. It's a bit of a perfect storm of everything working, but a really smart play. in that
Oh, it
case.
was awesome. It looked like a really, really good play. Yeah, and then Suter, yeah, that's you're right. That's a really good point. I know a lot of Canucks players, Parker, are in goal droughts, but he was in one of the biggest ones because he was the early leader in goals. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 4-1 restores the 3-goal lead. No problem, right? We're laughing.
No, 2-goal leads are not safe with this team, nor are 3-goal leads, which that became
Right.
on that one. So we go to the third. They killed the rest of that penalty off very well.
Yep.
You know, 1 for 5 on the power play for St. Louis tonight, which is huge. Parayko gets one back 4 minutes into the third period, and you get a little nervous, right? Are the wheels coming off? But Lankinen held in there very, very well in the third period. He only faced 7 shots, but it felt like more than that. I mean, really, the second period was the big onslaught. And then with the goalie pulled, which was aggressive, I think they pulled the goalie with about 4 minutes left in this game. Maybe long. It may have been 4:15 or something.
Yes.
But they pulled the goalie. Couple misses by Garland from his own zone that resulted in icings. Carson Soucy blocking a shot and having his stick blade go flying to the wall. So he was able to change on the ice at least, but that's one of the best recoveries from a broken skate that I've ever seen. He just stood there in the middle in front of the net, just trying to get in people's way. And then as the puck got iced, which, you know, the icing sort of negated it anyways, but he 1 foot hopped all the way to the bench, which was pretty sweet. And then, on the ensuing play, the following play, Tyler Myers gets the puck off of a battle on the wall. It's just played around. He skates behind his own net, just fires it all the way down, makes no mistake. One of Tyler Myers' best games of the season by far.
Yeah. Yeah, he. Oh, by the way, did you see the Canucks statement before the game on X on Twitter? that was pretty funny. Some people are saying,
funny.
Yeah, trying too hard or read the room or whatever. I thought it was great. Great.
It was funny. But no, Tyler Myers had the one bad penalty, that trip where his stick was just too long and got in the guy's skates. Other than that, he had a fantastic game. I'm actually curious. I want to see Canucks on ice, 5-on-5. Let's look at expected goals for. Analytically, he wasn't like anything special, but on the ice,
interesting.
It absolutely felt like it. I think he had a lot of mostly D starts, anyways. But
right.
Guess who was at the top of the list? It's not a surprise. It was Connor Garland.
Wow.
Who had a fantastic night. So overall, I mean, it was a good, solid win by the Canucks. That no goal call into the penalty, really helped, right? It's a 2-0 game instead of a 1-1 game, but the Canucks were by far the better team in the first period. They held their own in the second, and then in the third, they sort of got into their shell as they've done. And really, this was like one of the first times it's really worked, right? Like there wasn't a ton of high danger chances for St. Louis. Lankinen made a couple of unbelievable stops, which he has done all year long. And the Canucks just pull out a nice, easy win against St. Louis.
Parker, do you still have the analytics up?
Yep.
Or can you pull them up? Can you tell me about DPD's game? Because I think we should talk about him anyways. But what did the analytics say about that?
Well, they said he was the second best player on the ice. While he was on the ice, the Canucks had an expected goals for of 0.77 against 0.27, which is second best on the team, right behind Garland. Wow. While he was on the ice, Canucks had 7 scoring chances. St. Louis had 2. Canucks had 2 high danger chances. St. Louis didn't have any.
What the heck?
So he definitely held his own analytically in this one. Of course, he's out there for the 1 goal against, but that's not even clocked as a high danger chance, right? It was a bad bounce off of him. But no, he was. That threw me off because I saw Pettersson was number 2 on this list, and I thought it was the centerman. But it was not.
Right.
It was Elias Pettersson.
And I will say, eye test wise, I noticed that he, unlike Desharnais, and actually Forward's been better. Forward's been actually quite good. But Pettersson, the DPD, he makes quick plays, like assertive, quick taps up or quick plays. Actually, there was, I know you saw it. I think his first couple of shifts were a little bit shaky. I think he got pinned a couple times behind the net stuff. But overall, I do like his decision making. I was concerned in the one game I watched in Abbotsford last year. I thought, I'm not sure if this guy's mature, if this guy's ready, but I guess he's really improved in the past year because he played well enough where Desharnais sat for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think he deserved it, right? I mean, that first
Yeah.
game, all like everyone was saying, like he was good. Now, analytically, he was bad in his first game, but it's the guy's first game. The only person worse than him in the first game was Vinny Desharnais.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that. Okay.
analytically, that was the guy to come out.
Right.
And no, he looked pretty good tonight. And that's great. Like if the Canucks could have a guy like that to come in and eat a few minutes and give them an option to not play Desharnais every night. That can be pretty valuable. Looking at the way the team played, like I thought Forbort played all right tonight. Obviously Myers and Hughes were great. Susie was all right. Hronik was all right. But there was no one that was like a black hole defensively in this game.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, no, that's true. And we're not talking about world beaters here in the St. Louis Blues, but still a very important proverbial 4-point game, right? Because St. Louis is right behind us in the standings.
Yeah. It's not a game that matters for like the playoff spot, but it's a team that can compete for that playoff spot. Because as of right now, Canucks are now 1 point back of the Flames. Flames have a game in hand. They are active, I believe, tomorrow against Washington. So hopefully, we'll be big OV fans tomorrow night. A Flames loss and a Canucks win, and suddenly we're right back in it. And the Canucks have, a couple easy opponents, a couple hard opponents coming up, right? We got the Predators on Wednesday, should be an easy opponent. Stars on Friday, going to be a tougher opponent. Red Wings on Sunday, should be an easier opponent. Avalanche on Tuesday without Rantanen anymore, at least. And then, the Sharks, and then we get into a bit of a gauntlet again after the Four Nations. So, 6 games left before the break. If the Canucks can, it feels like a big ask, but if the Canucks can put a little run together here going into the break, and if they can go into the break in a playoff spot, it's going to do wonders for the team and for their confidence.
Great point. And you got to start these. I know it's only a 3-game road trip, not like the monster 6-game one, but the fact that you started off with a win against a team that you should beat, that's good. We're not wondering, how come they can't protect a lead? How come they fall down behind 3-0? How come they can't beat a team that they're supposed to beat? They erased, at least for tonight, combine it with Saturday, they've erased some of those lingering questions. So much so where I know, Parker, in the bigger picture, I wonder if they're going to, and maybe the big Rantanen trade has a lot to do with this too, with the market shrinking. I wonder if talks are slowly dying down, right? I know we'll probably talk about it in the second half of the show, but I wouldn't mind seeing them give this team some rope and see what they can do with it until the Four Nations face off. Yeah,
it's really tough because again, like 3 days ago, this team had just lost 6-2 to the Oilers and 3-2 to the Sabres, right? Yeah. So they're remarkably inconsistent. They've showed like tonight's game, it was like this is just a better team than St. Louis. Right. Like that's what tonight was. But last Thursday was, the Oilers are just better than the Canucks. Even though the Canucks had beat them a week earlier, it was just like, they're and then the Canucks losing to the Sabres, like, man, this team, like, who knows who they are in any given night. A big part of that is, their star players haven't been producing, and goaltending, right? Lankinen's been great. Demko's been shaky. And I'm looking at this and it's like, well, you don't have any more back-to-backs until the Four Nations. How many games does Demko get out of the next 6?
Yeah. Wow. That's a really good point because they keeps talking about he wants to get Demko a run of games, but he just had that run of games with Lankinen out with the flu, and Demko did not perform well. Yeah. Oh man.
Like I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking Lankinen's my starter right now. And maybe you give Demko like the Sharks game on the 6th, but I on any of these games, I don't feel that confident with Demko in. And what good really does a run of games do for Demko going into the Four Nations when he's going to have 2 weeks off anyways? It's kind of a weird thing to balance because part of you, there's the one where it's like, okay, if this team is going to make a run in the playoffs, you need Demko to be your guy. However, you need to get there first. And Lankinen is giving you the best shot of getting there. Demko isn't. And that's a really tough spot to be in. And I don't envy the guy who has to make those calls. That's a tough decision to have to make, but when Lankinen's playing as well as he is, right? That's two, two really good games back to back. Stops 32 of 33 on Saturday. Stops 24 of 26 tonight, including one that went in off of his defenseman. Like, I don't see how you don't just keep running this guy for a little bit.
So you play Lankinen against Nashville, former team for sure, on Wednesday night?
That one's a gimme. Yeah, I think you have to. Unless you're like, but they know how to beat him. But I think, guys get up for those games. And I think, I think you want to play them. Because, Lankinen's got a 906 save percentage now. I don't know what league average is, but I think it's close to 900.
Close to that. Right.
Because, and I think the reason, league's average save percentage has been on the decline, right? For the past really 10 years, right? 2015, 2016, it peaked at a 915, the highest it's ever been. 913 the following year, 912, 910, 910, 908, 907, 904. Last year, 903. This year, league average save percentage is at 901. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with shot auditing, right?
Yeah.
How many shots do we see come off the board every night, right? There's definitely a few. Right. And I think that's a decline, or, less shots mean lower save percentage. And actually, shots on goal have gone down by about 2 this year. Last year, it was averaging 30.1 shots per game. This year, it's down to 28.2 shots on goalies per game. So, we're seeing save percentages drop. Goals against average is actually up, or down, I should say, at 2.79. It's improving. So if league average is 906 or 901 and Lankinen's at a 906, he's performing above average and with a pretty shoddy defense in front of him, right? He's got a couple guys who are on at times and a couple of guys who aren't. I think he just has to be your guy for the next little bit because, he might be your guy next year.
Right. That's a really good point about the save percentage because I think too, as the season goes on, you think the games are lower scoring because as teams tighten up they always say the games are tougher, right? In January, February, March, April. So maybe save percentage of the league average is going to go up a little bit. Who knows? I don't know. Just a theory. But more importantly, what you're saying is, you got to give. If you're battling for a playoff spot, which the Canucks are doing, and we believe that they are going to try and make the playoffs this year, not necessarily become crazy buyers. I think they're too smart for that. But who on a game-to-game basis, which goaltender gives you the best chance to win? And the stats bear it out, and it's just going to complicate. We got so many fascinating contracts to look at and situations to look at. Miller, Petey, Lankinen, Besser, Demko, There's a lot.
This team could look a lot different next year. Yeah. And it's going to be an interesting offseason that we get to discuss it. But I think, especially for Lankinen coming off that 11-day gap, right? With norovirus going from the 14th to the 25th, playing back-to-back games and allowing 3 goals on whatever that is, 59 shots. Pretty good for him. So I think you just got to give him this run. So, all right, we got a couple games to preview, which we've talked about a little bit. Well, we should finish those off. Then we can talk about maybe the big trade that happened and how the Canucks were almost involved. And then we'll look at people a little bit.
Sounds perfect.
So our next show, I imagine, will be next Monday.
Yep. 3
games before that. Canucks Predators on Wednesday, 6:00 start. I guess it's because it's a national game. I would think because Nashville's 2 hours difference.
Yes, that's correct.
They got to be on Central, so that's a late start for them. 8 p.m. starting in Nashville, but I assume Wednesday night hockey. It's probably on ESPN.
Well, that's right.
So
yes.
6:00 start on Wednesday against the Predators. Then, and how are the Predators doing right now? Obviously, they haven't been great all year. They just lost 5-2 to the Ducks. They did win back-to-back. Actually, they won 5 games in a row last week. They beat Vegas 5-3. They beat the Blackhawks 3-2. They beat the Wild 6-2. They beat the Sharks back-to-back games 7-5, 6-5. So Saros has been abysmal. I will tell you that as a fantasy hockey owner of UC Saros. Saros has been bad. Nashville's finding a way to score. And, they're they're not the worst team in the league, but they're not very good, right? 1-7 the last 10,
Right.
still at 43 points on the season, which, I mean, I guess is only 11 less than the Canucks, but that should be a game that the Canucks win.
Yeah, no, I agree. It should be a game we want. How did that 5-game win streak fly under at least my radar? Maybe because I'm so worried about our train wreck of a team that I didn't even notice. I didn't know they won 5 straight.
Yeah, neither
Wow.
did I. I just saw it, and they scored a lot of goals over that period. They did lose on Saturday to the Ducks though, 5-2. So
Right,
it comes and it goes. But yeah, a 3-day rest for them. They'll be very well rested because Saturday was their last game. Then the Canucks travel to Dallas. Nice little short hop there for Friday night, 5:00 start in Dallas. Of course, Dallas second in the Central Division behind Winnipeg with Minnesota and Colorado, basically right on their tail. They have, let's see what they have done lately. They shut out the Blues on Saturday. They beat Vegas 4-3 the game before that. They lost to the Hurricanes before that. So they've been okay. They've won 6 of their last 10. They're just sort of floating. I think, they know they're going to finish second or third in the Central, and they're probably going to play the Wild or the Avs, right? That's just sort of the position they're in. But that's a tough test for the Canucks. The Stars have been a good team for many years here. And then the Red Wings on Sunday at 5:00. So no Saturday game, no Monday game. So the Canucks might be in trouble.
Right in the middle.
2 very beatable teams. Of course, the Red Wings are, second to last in the Atlantic, although 3 points out of a playoff spot. So it's
the Eastern Conference is crazy, but the Red Wings, I thought they were kind of like the Nashville of about 3 weeks ago, because I remember the Red Wings went on a little bit of a surge as well, winning maybe 8 of 10 or 6 of 7.
I actually didn't realize they were only 1 point back at the Canucks right now. I thought they were doing worse, but yeah, they have done really well lately. That Atlantic division is just a mishmash of teams all within 3 points, right? You have the Sens, Bruins, Lightning, Habs, and Red Wings going from 3rd to 7th in the division with a 3-point margin. So those teams, these teams are fighting at this point, right? They want to win. So there's no easy games when you're on the road against these guys.
But you're right with this win, and if you clump the road trip plus then the Detroit game, because that'll be the one game before we get together again, you could conceivably say the Canucks should win 3 of the 4, right? Easily. Not easily, but you can say that. You can say that.
Yeah, and I think looking at the week, I would hope for a 2-1 week. Looking at the next 3 games, but you never know.
I seem to remember, at least at home, the Canucks play the Stars well. I think maybe in the road it might be a different story, but it's not like a team like Winnipeg where you basically can write in a loss already. But Dallas is good. By the way, when you look at the standings, you know what's interesting? Colorado is only a couple points behind Dallas and Minnesota, or Dallas and whoever. But if you factor in games in hand and Calgary, we're right on Colorado's tail, actually. It doesn't look like it from a points perspective, but they played 2 or 3 more games than us, right?
Yeah, we have 2 games in hand on them. In theory, you win them both. You're 2 points back. So with 30 some odd games to go, they're catchable. Especially because I think they just made a pretty bad trade for this season at the very least. Moving Rantanen for Natchez, essentially. Maybe long term it works out if they weren't going to sign Rantanen, although Rantanen came out and said I was willing to take less money, et cetera, et cetera. But that's going to be that room is going to be they seemed upset by it, right? I don't know if you saw McKinnon's clip, but he was clearly distraught.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was shocked by it, essentially. So yeah, that's a team in turmoil that, they could stumble a little bit, and who knows, maybe we're looking at 5 teams out of the Pacific if that happens. I'm not going to, count those chickens before they hatch. I think Colorado's still got a heck of a team, right? McKinnon and Makar can carry you anywhere, but
right.
There might be some turmoil there.
I have heard, I haven't seen it, but I have heard people talk on the radio, Parker, indeed, that the 2 locker rooms were night and day. Colorado Avalanche players despondent. I don't want to say depressed, but upset. Whereas the Carolina is we just got one of the top 10 players in the league here now. Yeah,
I think over the last few years he's been 4th in scoring. He's fantastic player. Crazy trade. I haven't opened Twitter in a month. I opened it for that because I wanted to see. I saw Rantanen was getting traded. Okay, I got to refresh just for this.
Yeah.
And then I closed it and haven't opened it since.
Well, that's fascinating. What
but,
just simplifying your life, decluttering your life, or
it's just so toxic. It just always makes me mad. So it's better to stay away there.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But that's it's 3 interesting games for the Canucks. Your predictions for the week?
I'll go. It sounds so simplistic, but I'll go 4 of 6. I'll say win-loss win.
I'm gonna go 2-0-1. I'm gonna get optimistic.
Love it.
And that one is gonna hurt. It's gonna be the Canucks are up 3-0 with 8 minutes to go, and find a way to lose an OT.
Of course. Do you want to actually good segue? You want to give me your thoughts about this trade? I think I know which way you're going with it.
Oh, I mean, Carolina looks great. Chicago showed up and lost a trade that they shouldn't have been involved in. And the Avs might be okay long term if they weren't going to keep Rantanen, but man, I think they really should have paid that guy if they could have, because he is a heck of a player.
Do you believe him when he says, "Oh, I would have stayed for less"?
I mean, what does he have to lose?
Yeah,
by he could, unless he's just trying to hurt them on the way out. But I don't know what he'd have to lose on that. They had they had time, man. Trade deadline was a ways away, and then hearing that, Carolina had 2 offers in front of them from Vancouver for Natchez as well, in Pettersson and Miller. I don't blame them in going the Rantanen route. Obviously, Pettersson has a different level of value with contract certainty, right?
Yeah.
If you think Rantanen's going to get 14, which he very well might, if you think Pettersson gets back close to that level, he's more valuable with the contract. But Rantanen, you're getting a top, like you said, top 10 player in the NHL, at least for this year. And if it's a rental, it's an expensive rental, but it makes that team dangerous. And if it's not a rental, if they can re-sign him, that's great for them for years to come.
You know what I heard, and I might be wrong with this. I heard that the deal for Miller would have been Kotkaniemi, and the deal for Pettersson would have been Natchez. But that's what I heard. But that's just from one source.
Yeah, Kotkaniemi doesn't excite me at all.
Yeah,
I thought Kotkaniemi was just a piece to make the salary work, but
okay.
I don't remember exactly, because that's a bad contract.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just remember him from injuring PD in this first season, but I've lamented about that before. Okay, I'll get over it eventually. Okay,
all right,
very good.
Shall we go to the people? 10 minutes to go here.
Let's do that.
All right,
let's do that. All right, people.
I haven't picked anything up here.
No, I was looking something up as we were talking. So, the last time I went in the chat, they were talking about who's Miller and who's PD between the two of us.
Well, folks, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat right now. It's a good time for it. And that would be fantastic. Daniel says, "How mad are you if you're McKinnon?" I mean, we saw McKinnon was mad. He was upset. It's your best partner that you've had, or the next best player on your team for a good chunk of those years until Makar showed up. Zhao trade Myers now is value no be higher. You can't. He's got a full no move. And it sounds like he took the contract he took because he didn't want to go anywhere. And frankly, he's been pretty good.
Yep. Irvin makes a good, great question. In the 2011, Henrik and Kessler were exclusively deployed in offensive faceoff. What does it say about the team that Tocchet regularly sends out 53 in the O-zone? Does it mean he likes Bluger? Does it mean he just wants to spread out the love? What does it mean?
Yeah, I'd actually be curious to see the metrics behind this, on if it's just a feel thing or if it's actually the way it's going. Just looking at tonight in particular, Teddy Bluger took 3 draws in the offensive zone, took 5 in the defensive zone. Whereas who was at the top? Miller and Hughes took the most offensive zone starts. Essentially, it looks like. Hughes, Myers, DPD, Elias Pettersson, Connor Garland. So Bluger was near the bottom. Now that's just one game. I can pull that up for the entire year in 2 seconds, because I'm actually curious to know that too. If that's something that the numbers actually bear out, or if it's just it's one of those things where if it feels bad, it might be one of those things that you notice. Right, confirmation bias. So I'll try to pull that up here if you want to go to the next question, and we can come back to it.
Edmund says, if Rantanen gets 14, are you concerned about Besser's contract? I actually think they're unrelated, Edmund. I think there's a number that Besser's camp has in their mind. It probably starts with an 8.5. And there's a number that the Canucks have in mind, and there's nowhere close to 8 and 8.5. That's why both Rutherford and Alvin have said very publicly that they haven't given us any confidence that there's even any movement in this contract thing. I like Besser. I think he's one of the best players on the team, best in the community. Everyone loves him, but he's had these three-year contracts, and he's going to want to get paid his last big contract. And I'm not convinced the Canucks are going to go there. I'm just not.
And I'm not convinced they should. And it hurts, but I don't know if I can pay him 8. Revisiting the Teddy Blueger thing, the numbers don't bear that out. He has started 60 at 5-on-5 only, 60 offensive zone starts, 80 defensive zone starts. So 43% of his starts are in the offensive zone, which is near the bottom on the team. For reference, guys like JT Miller, 111 offensive zone starts to 69 defensive zone starts. Elias Pettersson is at 88 to 99, so he starts more in the defensive zone a little bit.
Interesting.
But just for those three for reference. So Bluger does start a decent bit more in the D zone, but it's not like he's only starting the defensive zone. It's 60-40 essentially.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for looking that up. Nothing is perfect. As do you hope PD misses the AHL All-Star game? So I guess the implication here is that means he's doing well with us. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think. When is the AHL All-Star game? Because if it's during
when is the AHL All-Star game?
Then, is it? It's at Acrisure. It's in Palm Springs.
Why, are you going to go now?
On February 3rd. That's before the Four Nations.
It is.
So yeah, I think if he's still in the Canucks team, I think he'll miss it, which would be good.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the 3rd is the Monday in between the February 2 Detroit game and the February 4 Colorado game. Yeah, good question. We'll see. We'll see if he's still here. Julesen's getting it back to health,
who's getting him sent down at this point?
It's Darren or Julesen, and then you go back to 3 rights, 3 lefts. Yeah,
and he's been good. I think you just run with him a little bit.
Fango's asking if Petey would benefit from skating with Jim Hughes. I think anyone would benefit, but I don't know if he's done that before. If that's, I knew though they were working. It's interesting. He was out early before practice yesterday, working on his skating and puck control with Rick Tocchet and the skills coaches. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. The skating's the concerning part for me. That's the most concerning out of all of it. But yeah.
What have the analytics said about Petey? Not to make you pull it up again, but can we simply say he doesn't seem to be producing from a points perspective, but he's doing a lot of other things well? I don't know.
Yeah, the number's a little skewed because I haven't filtered anything out. I mean, the leader on the entire team in expected goals for at 5-on-5 is Elias Pettersson for the season. At 5-on-5, Elias Pettersson on the ice, 51% expected goals when he's out there. So slightly better than average, essentially. Relative to the team, he's pretty good. He's 9th on the team, and that includes guys who haven't played. Actually, really, the only guy who hasn't played much is Elias Pettersson at the top. So 8th on the team, essentially. So not where you'd hope he is, right? And JT Miller's right below him.
Okay.
When you'd hope that he'd be near the top. So no, he hasn't been. And we know he hasn't been worth $11 million this year. That's a given.
And speaking of which, Nicholas, I think a newer name here. You might be here before. Welcome, Nicholas. So we've talked about this before. So we'll answer this out of respect for like 30 to 45 seconds. Who would you trade? My guy says EP40. The contract is bad. He needs a lot of babying for a 7th season. 11.6 can buy a lot. I think Park and I would still agree. You keep the guy who's 5 years younger and could still blossom into a superstar. But I don't know, Parker, if that's changed in your mind at all.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that meant gut more than guy in that comment. 11.6 can buy a lot. So can 8. That is the problem. Is Elias Pettersson, I see a world where Elias Pettersson gets back to the 99 point Elias Pettersson or whatever that number ends up being, right? Maybe it's 90 points. Because I really believe in this knee injury. Like, I really think that it's there because everything bears it out. And if that somehow heals, if they can somehow make that thing healthy, I think he is maybe not an $11.6 million player, but I think he's better. JT Miller, I think, is worth his, like, again, if he's playing his best, he's definitely worth his money this year and next year. But it's down the line that gets concerning. I mean, I see a world where they're both gone at some point, which sucks, and we have to start over essentially. Yeah, I think if you're getting rid of one today, it has to be Miller, because you just know Pettersson gets traded and next year he puts up 110 points and everyone looks dumb and it's annoying, and we just have to live with that forever. JT Miller might go do that as well, but he's going to tail off pretty quickly after that.
Right. Great points. And I was telling people on my show last night, Parker, that in my keeper league, my salary cap year over year, draft and develop everything, after 8 years, I dropped Petey last night and I couldn't believe it. But for 7.3, because we're 1 year behind in salaries, he's not doing much, and he's certainly not going to do a lot for 11.6. That's a lot of money, right? When you're the fifth highest paid player in the league.
Yeah.
Oh, sad but true. Sad but true. Yeah. What's DPD's ceiling?
That's a tough question. It's a really tough question. He's 20. Like, he's young. For a defenseman, that's really young. And I don't want to be the guy who gets super excited about a third round pick after he's, played 2 NHL games. Because, like, realistically, he probably projects right now as, a bottom pairing, maybe AHL, right? Like, it's just too early. Yeah. However, if he pans out, he could make his way on to being a second pairing defenseman, or a top pairing defenseman. We don't know, right? It's way too early. I've seen him play 2 games and a couple, training camp skates. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to make any predictions there.
Yeah. In my head, and this is before I saw him play these 2 games, I always had in my head that Verlander is going to peak as a second pairing, and Pettersson DPD is going to peak as a third pairing. Like, I don't have any aspirations of it being Hughes, Hronek, DPD, and Verlander, although that'd be nice. Then you can play Soucy and Myers on the third pairing, especially not just yet. But if DPD ends up being a solid third pairing guy, I think that's great for a third round pick. That's awesome.
Yeah. And defensemen develop later, right? Like, forwards peak around like 23 nowadays, right? 23, 24 is when they'll put up their most points. Defensemen are usually like 28. Right. So there's a lot of, it makes them tougher to draft because you're drafting them at 18. There's a lot more, leg room to go and develop.
Good point.
So who knows? Maybe he had a big, a big growth in his game, and this is where he ends up. Or maybe this, development continues and he ends up even better. But it's way too early to tell.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Edmund says, do you think Alvin would do Bester what he did to Hronek, but a shorter time period? Oh, okay. So basically extending him. No, I think Bester wants a long term, right?
He must at this point. He's at that point where he's taken 3 bridge deals essentially. He's going to want the full 7-year for $8 million or whatever he can get, right? He's going to want that $55-60 million locked in, as he should, frankly. I don't see him. I don't see him sticking around for another couple of year contract.
I agree. Brimpy, I'll take this one. There's actually no All-Star game this year. That's what the Four Nations face-off, that tournament, is replacing. So we're getting best on best, which I think is way better than an All-Star game. So no All-Star game this year. Thank you for the question. Swervin Irvin declaring his membership Canucks After Dark for 2 months. Thank you, Irvin. That's great. That is great.
Thank you very much.
And Alex Pietrangelo not playing in the Four Nations. Do you see, you can make this Canuck specific or not, do you think other teams are going to follow, other players are going to follow suit?
I don't. I hope not. This tournament, I really want this to be a best on best tournament. And we know guys like McDavid and Crosby really pushed for this tournament to happen. Yeah. So I'm hoping that that's enough to get most of the guys there. Of course, it's, one domino can make a lot of things fall, right?
Yes.
Where one guy does it, and so the guy's like, "Oh, I can do that," and there's no consequence. Okay, maybe maybe I pull out. But man, I like for a lot of these guys, this might be their only opportunity to put on, that jersey, right? Stars and stripes, the maple leaf, or the the crowns of the line. Like that's big for all these players and all these countries, and it's also a bit of an audition for the Olympics a year from now, right?
Yeah.
A guy like Petrangelo's been around for a while, right? He's played in Olympics, I think, right? Going far enough back.
He must have,
To the point where this might not feel as important. Which, hey, more power to him. He wasn't going to be. He's not the star of that team, right? It's not like a Makar dropping out for Canada, or a McKinnon, or a Matthews, or a McDavid, right?
Right.
So, I hope it doesn't sort of topple the tower. But if you get a guy like Hughes dropping out, I think the tournament loses a lot of luster. And I want to see best on best hockey.
Me too. I'm greedy. I'm selfish that way. All right, pretty good. We went for over an hour, and we're all in a good mood because the Canucks won. So I think now's a good time to call it. We have our predictions in. I see some people are dropping their predictions as well, which is great. Oh no, we can do Super Bowl prediction next week because I forgot they had the 2-week gap, so we can wait for that too.
Yep. All right, folks. Well, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning here on YouTube. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever podcast platforms there are. Other than that, Clay, any parting words this Monday night?
Great to be talking after a consecutive win streak, and who knows, maybe next time we speak, the Canucks are in a playoff position.
Hopefully. All right, folks. Thank you all for joining. Have a good Monday night. We'll be back here next Monday, 10 p.m. We'll see you then.